both of Bama football on YouTube. We appreciate you guys being here. Coach, let's dive right into it. The impact of Coach Kalen DeBoer recruiting specifically in the state of Alabama has been really impressive. I've talked about this many, many times. I always thought it was amazing how Coach Saban took care of his own backyard. And a lot of people were questioning how Coach Kalen DeBoer was going to be able to recruit within the southeastern, country. And he's done an amazing job, specifically in Alabama. You look at what he did from the jump with Ryan Williams. You look at Antonio Coleman flipping. You look at him getting Derek Smith, a heavily touted prospect from Selma. Let's start there. In terms of taking care of your own backyard, have you been impressed with what Coach Kalen DeBoer has done from the jump just here in the state of Alabama?
Yes, I'm very impressed. You named two huge names, and a lot of people don't give him credit for Ryan Williams, but he did have to reassure Ryan Williams to get him to stay. And people be like, well, you flipping back? Yeah, that was a big flip. Auburn, you were celebrating. Now you're sad because now not only did we get Ryan back, we turned around and we got Antonio Coleman to flip. Now we're working on another one. We're another two, honestly, that we're working from that roster that have decommitted in the last 2 days, a D lineman and a running back. And then you look at Derek Smith, the wide receiver out of Southside in Selma, Alabama, a straight dog. Which side of the ball is he going to play on? Free safety wide receiver. Another highly touted recruit in the state of Alabama, a 4-star, 92 overall rating, the number 7 player in the state, the number 8 player in his position, right? You look at Anthony Rogers out of Carver, Montgomery, Alabama, another running back, 4-star, 5'8", 190 pounds. The kid can go. Another player, Miles Johnson, another athlete who could play linebacker, who can play running back out of T.R. Miller, another school in the state of Alabama. You just look at the state, and he's not just in one part of the state. He's South Alabama, Center Alabama. We got some kids in North Alabama, Birmingham, even further north, Huntsville. Kids out, way out in West Alabama. Like, he's all over the state, locking it down. In-state recruits are excited about taking visits to Alabama. And I can't wait to continue to see how this 25 class shapes up.
What about a recruiter like Freddie Roach and his approach? And how big was it for Coach Kalen DeBoer to retain him, Robert Gillespie? And you kind of see already an instant impact from what Coach Roach has been able to do. And by the way, great mention on Turbo Rogers, because he was a prospect who never wavered. When Coach Saban retired, look, Coach Kalen DeBoer was able to make an immediate impact with him. Now coming back to the state of Alabama, there's another in-state prospect that you got. But let's talk about Freddie Roach and how he's been able to impact in-state recruiting as well.
Roach, he's already familiar with the land. But now with this new era, this new staff, with a new head coach, there's a new agenda being pushed. Not necessarily different from what Coach Saban established, but establishing relationships is taking a new turn. And Coach Roach has kind of been given the freedom to go the extra step, to go the extra bounds. And one conversation in particular I had with a D-line recruit, is that Coach Roach is different from when Coach Saban was there. And that is a testament to Coach Kalen DeBoer and this new staff. And I mean, it's not just the coaches that's being affected or that are being affected by Kalen DeBoer, but it's the people that Kalen DeBoer has in the administrative side. His associate director of player personnel, his director of player personnel, his general manager, his director of recruiting, Sanders, Jatavis Sanders, Aaron Hodges. Who else is out there? Courtney Morgan. All those 3 names, you're going to hear their names when recruits are talking, because these are the guys that are really making the conversations, creating the lanes, and setting it up. And the way that they're doing it is not like how Coach Saban did it. And we're not knocking what Coach Saban did. He set the tone. He set the standard. You only build from that. You stack on that, and you continue to, perform and do great things. And that's what this staff with Kalen DeBoer is doing.
Not only taking care of his own backyard, but you look at the prospects that they are currently active recruiting, whether they might be committed to another school. You got a prospect from Maryland. That's a very difficult area to recruit because Coach Locks has that area on lockdown. So being able to get Zamir Smith over was a really big win as well. Let's kind of switch gears and talk about spring football and what we're looking forward to next week when Alabama starts up practice. They've only practiced 3 days. It seems like they've practiced weeks and weeks. But when we get back to business next week, and specifically talking about the defensive side, what are we looking at We've talked about the secondary plenty. Let's start with the inside linebackers. What are we looking at from the inside linebackers? What do you want to continue to see? Maybe some themes arising in that particular position.
Honestly, I just want to see who the fourth guy is. Who is the fourth guy? Meaning, you have your tandem of not just Jefferson, but Jahad Campbell, Deontay Lawson.
Mm-hmm.
They're presumed to be the leaders and the starters at the Mike and the Sting, right? And then you look at behind them, Justin Jefferson lining up behind Lawson, playing that Mike position. Who's going to be the Sting for this second group, right? Who's going to be the Sting that's going to line up to Justin Jefferson? And it's a few names that kind of come to mind when you look at it. You look at young Sterling Dixon, who's been, making a lot of positive impact early on campus. You look at another guy that's kind of been there, but, is transitioning to inside linebacker, is just Jeremiah Alexander. And a lot of people thought he was going to stay on the edge, but I've been seeing him float between both groups in all the practice clips. You see Jeremiah Alexander, and I mean, he's fast for his size. So you kind of expect him to be able to play that Sting position because that's usually your blitzing inside guy. That's your guy that's going to be heavy in run support. So I'm curious to see how that shapes up. But I think Justin Jefferson is poised to have a huge impact, even though he may not be the first to line up when it comes down to, putting the starting defense out there. I think he will be very flexible in how he's used because he has the speed, he has the range. He's in between that safety and linebacker size with his makeup. So I think we're poised for a highly touted group to have a lot of production on the inside linebacker room.
It's been amazing to see, and I'm glad you mentioned his name, is Sterling Dixon, because when you look to the inside linebackers that just jumped on board and that are enrolled at the University of Alabama, when you slow down and watch their tape, Caden Jones, big dude, 6'4", 220 pounds. Justin Okoronkwo and Sterling Dixon look like mirror images of each other in terms of athleticism and how they're being able to move. So I'm eager to see how those guys continue to develop. But good point out in terms of what we're watching at inside linebacker. Let's talk about the defensive line edge as well, because I think the biggest takeaway from the defensive side, or one of the most significant things that we saw in the first three practices, was the fact that Keon Keeley is working with the defensive line.
Yeah.
What else are we watching in terms of maybe some edge rushers, how we're working with those guys, and then also the defensive line? What are we kind of themes that we're looking for as Alabama heads into their fourth practice, which will be on March 19th?
What's crazy? I saw two guys getting a lot of work when I got to see some of the 11 on 11 period, and it was Yanzi Pierre and Quay Russaw.
Mm-hmm.
These two guys, I honestly believe Quay Russaw is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And Yanzi Pierre is his technique, man. It's almost like watching a technician. Like he just goes through the motion at such a high rate, and it's so effective. Even when he doesn't win the rep, it's as if he's not worried about winning the rep, but perfecting the motion and the movement. I mean, he's put on some good weight. I'm excited for Yanzi Pierre. Quay Russaw already was college ready last year, size wise. Now he's getting to be in a defensive style. And Tim Smith, defensive lineman at Alabama, fifth year senior, he highlighted this about this style of defensive play calling. We're going to be able to get after the quarterback. We're going to be able to get after it. Like that's what they're excited about. So you got a bunch of dogs that literally love coming off the edge. Young Jay Sean Ross making a little impact, making a name for himself early. Yep. You get what I'm saying? And you said a name, Justin Okoronkwo. Yep. I think this young man inside might get built up to play outside because he's long. He's long, and he has some speed. He can get to the quarterback. I mean, he can play in space, but I think they might end up sliding him to the edge too, man, and just have a nice, healthy rotation of 4 to 5 rotational guys that they can play the edge, whether it's Wolf or Bandit.
Yep. Lastly, I want to get your take on what do you think kind of the direction that college football will go after Coach Saban's comments yesterday on Capitol Hill, talking about NIL and everything that kind of went down at that roundtable. There's so many directions it could go. What do you think will kind of be the next steps of this if we look out to 3 months, this season, next season, other topics that might come up from that?
Well, you would hope that they first attack the transfer portal, right? You would hope that they attack that first, and put some real parameters around that, some real bars on that, because that's the start of it. If they can't leave without penalty, then you kind of cut off what type of conversations and things can be had during the season. Like it realistically can't happen if you say you can't leave for 2 years. If you sign with this school as a freshman, you have to give them 2 years before you even are eligible for the portal. Now, after your 2 years, you get your one free transfer, and then the next one needs to cost them. It needs to cost them a semester, right? Either you sacrifice the summer and you have to enroll and go an extra semester, right? And get your credit hours, gain those 8 credit hours during the summer. Because now you're not giving them the freedom to be professional athletes in the off season. You're making them still be student athletes. Okay, you want to go to Michigan State after leaving Alabama because it didn't work out after you were signed to Texas A&M or wherever. Okay, that's fine. But guess what? You need to be in school for that summer semester, and you need to get your credit hours. You need at least 8 credit hours before the season kicks off. So you start with something like that, and then I honestly believe that we might start seeing some change. For trajectory on when we might see that, Kyle, too much money is being thrown around right now with networks and TV deals and all that stuff. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some time. We probably won't be able to see the effects of it for 2 years.
One thing that I do know is, and I agree with Coach Saban on this particular statement that he made. Well, he didn't say this directly, but kind of this pay for play. You can't win with a bot team. We've seen that in the past, and I've mentioned that many times, and we've seen an example of this being Texas A&M, and I think this year's example is Ohio State. I think the Ohio State Buckeyes will be very talented this year. They always are, but we've seen this model before. You just can't pay for a team to win the championship. I think a team is built off cohesiveness. I think a team is built off development. I think a team, most importantly, is built off quality coaches, X's and O's, along with the Jimmys and Joes. And I think how you formulate that is a process where you're able to piece together the NIL, the transfer portal, in an effective way. The teams that can do that under these unbalanced windows, credit to them. I think when more rules and parameters are set in place, I'm curious to see which coaches and players can rise up and win a national championship kind of in this world of college football, where I think it's ultra challenging. This coming year is going to be amazing in terms of the direction that we go. And with Coach Kalen DeBoer already loading up on specific needs from the transfer portal and adding some good pieces to 2024, Alabama is going to be in a very good position. You can feel the new energy here in college football going forward, like in 3 years. Who knows if a super conference is to come a super league? That's kind of what I think is going to happen. And I was thinking about this. What if Coach Saban somehow, and he's only 72, and he looks great, by the way. What if somehow they're able to get college football back in on the rails, whether it's another league, whatever, and he comes back to college football coaching? Do you think he could? What if he comes back at 75? Do you think
I don't see it, man.
And I want to ask the chat, okay? Do you think that there will ever be a point in time, if college football gets more rules and parameters, that Coach Saban ever comes back into coaching? Just, I don't know, maybe, 2 or 3 more years, something like that. What do you think, Smoke?
I'm about to poll it out real quick. Let me poll it out.
Let me ask you, chat, right now in the undefeated, before we end it, do you think he'll ever come back to coach, or do you think this is it?
If Coach Saban
ever find themselves? No?
I don't think so, Kyle. I honestly do not think so. I think if anything, if he comes back in any aspect of the game, it'll be as a athletic director or some commissioner for the new.
That's what I think will happen. I think I don't think he'll come back to coaching. Like, that's my answer. But what I do think is I think the direction that you're going to, if this new league is created, he would be the perfect college football commissioner. He really already is. He just doesn't have that specific title. So I think that he would come back and kind of oversee and lay the final foundation of this next wave of college football. And I think he's kind of already doing that.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree.
So, but we appreciate you guys watching this video. Want to get your take inside the comment box, whether it's in-state recruiting, what we're watching on the defensive side of the ball, or kind of the future of college football and what you think Coach Saban's role could be. Sounds like he's already the college football commissioner, but maybe like in an official title. And by the way, I don't think a lot of people liked how they were like Mr. Saban. They should have had Coach Saban, like he's forever. And people would always talk about that, like how you would address Coach Saban at press conferences. And people hated it when you would say, or when reporters would say, "Hey, Nick, I have a question." They would be like, "It's Coach Saban."
Oh, man.
Even yesterday, it would have been amazing if they would have had the foresight to have Coach Saban on there. But we appreciate you guys being here. Hit the thumbs up on all these videos. He's Coach Smook. I'm Kyle Henderson, both of Bama Football on YouTube. Stay tuned for news as it happens right here on Bama Football on YouTube, whether it's recruiting, whether it's spring football. And, of course, Alabama will start practice on March 19th. Once again, that'll be their fourth practice. And then on March 20th, you have Pro Day from Tuscaloosa. We don't know which players will be at Alabama's Pro Day, but there's always so many head football coaches, GMs that are in town watching a couple Alabama football players, and we'll have coverage right here on Bama Football.